Okay, so find your breath and also know that the breath is grounding. So, whenever we feel that anxiety or that fear arising, the breath is one tool, just one tool, because not everyone can access the breath when they're feeling anxious or kind of overwhelmed. But you can access your body if the breath is not available to you. If the breath is something that may be causing the anxiety because you've got a cold or a stuffed up chest, or you have something like asthma or things like that can make the breath harder for us to access. So if you can't access it, you're going to ground into your feet, noticing the feet firmly planted on the ground. Or maybe you are noticing your hands, they may be crossed over your chest as you provide yourself with some physical energy to your potentially rapid heartbeat. It could be that your hands are resting on your lap. But you're grounding into your body because that grounding provides us with trust that we have some control over this. And when we're grounding into the body, we're not ruminating, thinking about the past. We're not launching into the future, which is where anxiety rests. Instead, we are making ourselves aware of the present moment, the what is here right now, with the knowledge that we have nowhere to go and nowhere to be. And with the knowledge that we have control when we access it. We can allow our emotions to arise no matter what they are. Of course, we relish the emotions of happiness, joy, and love and appreciation. But that's not all that makes us human. The other emotions make us human as well, and sometimes those emotions can feel a little bit overwhelming. And I don't like to label those emotions as bad because they just are. They are part of our human condition. And we know how important they are to us. So when we know sadness, we can also know happiness. When we know fear and anxiety, we can also know peace, calm, and hope. So when we allow those emotions and we couple it with grounding, it's easier for us to access the more challenging ones. And in that accessing the more challenging ones, we may actually have to stop and dropping into our breath, dropping into our grounding in our bodies, just so that the emotion doesn't take over. so that the emotion doesn't overwhelm us and then shut us down. Or sometimes create irrational kinds of thoughts. It's in our awareness that we can slow that down or even stop it. And so as we make those mind-body connections, as we bring ourselves to the present moment and understand that the rising of emotion is natural, we have a better chance of handling it. And when that emotion arises, we also want to pair it with an awareness of thought. Because the thought is the thing that is going to lead us astray. We don't necessarily need to have the reason for the emotion, the incident for the emotion. We just need to know the emotion is there. And the more we push that emotion down, the tighter the cork is in the bottle. The more chance we have of coming into contact with an experience that's going to gradually loosen the cork. We might call that a trigger. Something triggers us, and boom, the cork flies out of the bottle. And when that happens, it is extremely overwhelming. Sometimes our brain gets hijacked to the point where we actually are thinking irrationally or acting irrationally. Because we are living in our sympathetic nervous system there, and what we need is to ground and come back to the moment. We need to go to our breath or to our bodies. We need to understand that this is natural, a part of who we are. And so today, when we are sitting, we can sit with thought and emotion. We can start by scanning from the tips of our toes all the way up both legs, noticing the feeling of our buttocks, our thighs on the chair, and our spine, our abdomen, our arms, up into our neck, our heads, and down into our heart center. And in that very quick scan, we are simply noticing what's there. But as we sit today in meditation on thought and emotion, when we feel something arising, we might also notice where it sits in our bodies. So if I notice I have a pain in my chest or a headache, if I notice I have aches and pains in my hands or my feet, I'm just noticing. I'm not taking that and running with it. At some level, when we notice what's going on in our bodies, we have to reach a level of acceptance in order to move forward. Because we all know that saying, what we resist persists. And so when we release emotion, we have stopped the resistance. And we can also prepare ourselves kindly and gently, giving ourselves permission, giving ourselves permission to let go, to let go of the aches and pains and thoughts and emotions that are no longer serving us. Those aches and pains and thoughts and emotions that don't serve us, instead, they keep us stuck. And to be unstuck, we have to actually do the work. We have to give ourselves permission to look at that dark side, knowing that somewhere in that darkness, there is a crack, a tiny little crack of life, a tiny little crack of light that is showing us the way. And we might imagine walking into a room where the lights are not on. We open that door, and what we are met with is darkness. But the light is on the other side of the room. The switch is on the other side of the room. And so we open the door and we step forward. We don't close the door behind us because that is letting in some light. So we keep that door open, knowing that it is our safe place. Because if I get overwhelmed with the darkness, I can go back outside the door. But I'm walking toward that light. And I'm taking small little baby steps reaching out with my hands to make sure I'm not going to bump into anything. And I move slowly and carefully as I am fully present in this darkness. I'm fully present because I don't want to get hurt here. I don't want to bump into something and get hurt. And so I use my hands, my body, my feet, and my eyes and my mind to scan the room as I move towards the light switch. But no matter how careful I am, no matter how much I am awake and aware, I will bump into an obstacle. And in that moment, I can choose to give up and go back outside the door. I can choose to stop and take care of myself. Perhaps if I've bumped my knee, I can rub my knee. I can pause for a moment as I regroup. I can stop and just be aware that that obstacle exists, and so I can choose to step to one side and walk around the obstacle. And as I make that choice, I do so with intention. I do so with hope and with the knowledge that there is a light there. I know that light is there. I know it in my mind, in my body, and in my spirit. And that light becomes my beacon, my hope. And so I step aside from my obstacle and I continue very slowly, very aware, knowing that there is possibly more obstacles as I continue this path. But I have just conquered an obstacle. I have just met the obstacle and moved around it. So with that knowledge that we meet obstacles all of the time, that they may have slowed us down or even stopped us in our tracks for a little bit of time, I know that I can keep going. And so I take another few steps as I reach out to ensure the obstacles are not in my path. And I move forward step by step. Perhaps stopping every now and again just to rest in the knowledge that I am moving forward. And step by step, I find that light switch and I turn it on. And immediately my body begins to relax. my heart opens up with gratitude for having met the obstacle and moved past it, and for finding the switch. That gratitude that I express fills my heart with love and joy. And I notice that my spirit has lifted, that I am not stuck. And that there are things that I can do that will help me find that light. But our journey in this dark room was not without obstacles. And when we met that obstacle, we stopped and took care of ourselves. We may have rubbed our knee, given ourselves a kind word, or maybe even vented that this happened. Whatever it took, whatever we needed, whatever our intention was, allowed us to move past. But we noticed that that intention also had emotion attached to it. If I needed to vent because I banged my knee, that emotion may have been anger. But you were able to express it. Or it may have been that I felt sad that now I'm going to have a bruise on my knee and I just need a little loving kindness. Regardless, our experiences have emotion attached. And it is when we can sit with the thoughts and emotions, allowing them to arise and then making a choice, that we are either broken open or we are healed. And if we are broken open, we need to allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to experience what that is like. Because it is like that bottle with the corkscrew or with the cork top. Sometimes the breaking open is a gentle crack that opens gradually. And sometimes it's explosive, like the cork of a champagne bottle. But no matter which way it happens, we ground into our bodies to cultivate the awareness that is there, the awareness and the trust and the confidence that we can set an intention to deal with this. And so for the next while, we will sit in silence as we allow whatever is there to arise. And we set the intention to be able to trust that whatever comes up, we can deal with it. We are remembering that we are not getting attached to the thought or the emotion. And we are not ruminating about the past. We are simply being aware and then perhaps using our cloud metaphor. Place it in the cloud and watch it drift away. We can also pay attention to where it's residing in our bodies. And as we let it drift away, we may bring the awareness back to the body to see if anything has shifted. And so we will sit in silence until you hear my voice again.